What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we try to find those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. I'm Shannon Tynes. Ryan Williams is not with us today. He's taking in the sun and the fun, you know what I mean? But with me today, I have Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
And Daniel Acevedo.
How's it going, guys?
What's up? So, Monday's episode, we talked about this North Korean fake IT worker and how AI is taking over the world. If I said it once, I said it a million times. But go back and watch that one, and you'll find some good stuff and some stuff to look out for. Maybe not necessarily if you're working for one of these companies, but maybe just maybe this will be one of those things that'll affect you in your dating life or something. You got to worry about these fake IT AI profiles out there. You know what I mean? But let's get started with the episode for today, everybody. So it's from Wired.com, right? And the title of this one is How Russia-linked malware cut heat to 600 Ukrainian buildings in deep winter. So this code, they say it's first of its kind, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case here. But what it was it was used to sabotage a heating utility, right? So going after utilities is not anything new, right? But the way that they went about this one is they kind of tricked the I don't want to say the thermostat, but they're trying to kind of trick the what would you call it? The system into thinking it was cooler than what it was, or it was warmer than what it was, cooling it down. So pretty much what it was doing was it was not supplying hot water to these buildings. And this was Russia doing this to Ukraine in the coldest part of the year, right? So this affected some 600 buildings in Ukraine, which affected 100,000 people, they say in this article, right? So to do this in the middle of a winter freeze, like this is one of those things where, I mean, Russia is cold, but I don't know if you're that cold, right? But I don't know if it's like, because they talk about it in the article how it got to like 0 degrees Celsius. You know what I mean? We're not talking Fahrenheit here, like we use in the States, right? They're saying Celsius, so you're in the negatives. You know what I mean? When you get down to 0 degrees Celsius. But this one was it's cruel, but it's not unheard of for Russia to do this. So if you remember back, you have to go back a few years, right? Before they even went into Ukraine this time, right? One of the first things they did was they did a cybersecurity attack, right? I believe they did a DDoS out there, right? To try to bring some stuff down. So the fact that they're using these methods, I mean, it's not unheard of for them, but the fact that they're using it to this, like, it's not a matter of not letting information get out there, right? Like you're costing people their lives at this point, you know what I'm saying? Because you're especially over there in Ukraine and Russia, you know what I mean? It's probably some of the coldest places in the world over there. And they're like, yeah, we're going to cut your heat off now. You know what I mean? Like how bad do you want to win? Very, very bad, obviously. Right. But Daniel, what's your thoughts on this, man?
And this is as scummy as it gets. This ain't playing fair. This is not the Olympics. This is cold-blooded. No pun intended.
Oh gosh.
Really no pun intended. It just came off the cuff. But something. Thinking back when this Ukraine-Russia war started, my previous CISO, he said something to me that kind of stuck. He said that this war will be the first war where non-kinetic battlefield will be at a large spotlight or scale or as important as the kinetic battlefield. And I think it really has proven to be the first time where we've had a war where the cyber warfare and the cyber warfare importance, preparedness, and offense has shown to be a difference maker. Kind of early on, Russia was, full force with the attacks, and Ukraine kind of held their own. And I think as time has gone on, Russia has shown, how much utility and how much money and resources they really do have, both in the kinetic and non-kinetic parts of this war, and how it's kind of chipped away at Ukraine. And then just going to something like this is kind of really crazy. As technology advances and, there's always the different levels of scares of different technologies, the cloud or whatever it is, trade compliance or, making sure where you're getting the resources from, if it's coming from China, to make sure the screening processes are good. So there's nothing embedded in the hardware, firmware. I think the next scale of all this will kind of reach into the SCADA systems and, what did you call them, Chris? Operational systems?
Operational
another
technology.
word for Yeah, operational technology. I think those places are where the next big wave of, cybersecurity focus will have to shift, which it has already, but I think it'll catch the next buzzwords and we'll see that more in kind of the media and mainstream because, the TCP protocol that's being used here and how it controls this system can affect a lot of large systems like this of its kind, just because these systems kind of were built a long time ago, or the way they're integrated into larger systems don't really have the thought and capability at the time of, hey, cybersecurity exploit or cybersecurity defense within the firmware and hardware. So that's why it's a prime target for these, attacks to exploit these kind of things. But man, leaving 100,000 people, families without heat or way to kind of like get you through the winter in the coldest parts is really rough. You guys want to say go for it.
Jump in here real quick before you pass it off. So like to the point you're making, like with conventional warfare, it is definitely going to be less and less, right? Like you don't have to fire as many bullets and bombs when you start bringing down all the technologies in this day and age, right? We rely so much on technology that it's only a matter of time before it's like, hey, we brought down your system or whatever, and we fired 10 bullets and 2 missiles, and we got you. Now you're surrendering. You know what I mean? Because you just have nothing to fall back on. It's just the way of the world, how it's going.
I mean, really, it's an evolution in warfare, right? I mean, even the Ukrainians are using drones now. I mean, drone warfare is a huge thing where we can, save lives. So really, I mean, it's really just expanding your portfolio in warfare. It's huge. Warfare is getting more complex. And countries, right? Big nation state actors, to include ourselves, are looking at more threat vectors, threat opportunities, and really, there's a lot of stuff out there that can be put into play in this.
The mic here is Chris. I was go ahead. Yeah.
Before
say it.
Like, share, subscribe. I didn't say it in the beginning. Everybody like, share, subscribe. We are close to the 500 subscribers. Last week we were off by about 40. Hopefully we got more before that. Ryan's really the producer, so he can give you all the numbers and everything on this. I'm just trying to fill in, trying to follow in those big shoes. You know what I mean? But Daniel, continue what you were going to say, man.
Yeah, I was trying to do pass the ball to the side to Chris, so he's got the mic. What do you think, Chris?
Gotcha. So what I thought was interesting was, cyber attacks. I mean, obviously, cyber attacks are very serious attacks akin to, attacking, hospitals, akin to attacking homes, right? So really, when you're performing an attack of such scale, you're targeting civilians, man. These guys are just the Russians are trying to break the will of the Ukrainian people. Right. Yep. So what's happening now is you notice that these attacks, Lviv, Ukraine is on the western side of Ukraine, right? Where, we know the warfare is going on in the eastern front, right? Crimea. So really what this is Russia telling Ukraine, hey, we haven't forgot about you guys. We're here to make you suffer as well, right? Like they're trying to break the will of the Ukrainian people. And, Ukrainians are standing strong and making sure they're keeping up the fight, with European and help from partner nations, right? But to that end, really kind of playing off Daniel's thoughts on the SCADA operating technology systems. I think, one of the first things that a lot of these energy companies, anybody that's in energy infrastructure, right, map the data flows. I think that's kind of the first priorities of where they need to understand from the cybersecurity perspective, understand the inventory, attack vectors, inputs and outputs of what is, if it's a closed system, if it's connected to some type of, Internet of Things device, IoT. We know IoT is coming everywhere. Everything is becoming easier to monitor from that standpoint, right? Because everything can send something data. But anywhere where child information traverses, it can be exploited by somebody that's extremely, extremely good at the things in ones and zeros. Really, we're talking about nation-state actors who have some of the most intelligent people of their respective countries in the world at this field, right? So I think mapping those data flows, really securing your systems, easier said than done. I can say this from this mic, but like. It's so difficult when you've got systems scattered all over, a country, right? A city. You're talking, having to do an inventory, a holistic inventory of all of your, electrical wires. I'm not sure. I'm not an operational technology guy, but really everything out there that can communicate to something has to be inventoried at some point.
Yeah.
So really, it's a huge undertaking, right? It's not easy. But really, as we're shifting towards, from a security perspective, towards more cyber attacks on, our infrastructure, our way of life, it's important to understand and know where your data flows are, secure those data flows. And, that's where we can get to that next step.
It's only a matter of time before they start multiplying on these things to where it's multiple things at once, right? So we've seen it in the last few years where you've had like the issues with the Colonial Pipeline in America. Now these things were for ransomware. These things were for profit, right? It's only a matter of time before one of these nation states says, okay, we're going to cut off your gas, your food, and your heat. You know what I mean? Like they're going to hit them all at once, right? And at what point are they going to be overwhelmed, right? So like they're struggling just to keep it to where, hey, we're handling this one thing after it happens, right? It took us a couple weeks to get back from this. Well, if you add this one and then this one on top of that, it's only going to be worse, right? And it's only a matter of time before one of these nation states just says, you know what, let's just do a bunch of them all at once and see what they can handle. You know what I mean?
And I think in the article as well, they said that Russia targeted world's freight systems, right? So think about all the goods and services, and commerce being done through that means of transportation. You guys remember when something like the Suez Canal was jacked up because that ship was. That's an example, right? A supply chain disruption like that could impact, potentially billions of people. Right,
that whole region was experiencing that. Yeah,
exactly.
Because of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it's definitely a possibility. It's definitely something that we're going to start seeing in the future. I don't see them stopping here, right? Like because it hurt. You know what I mean? Ukraine, but it didn't deter them from what they were, because this happened back in January, I want to say, right? So this is 6 months ago ish, right? That this happened, and they were reporting on it. And I can't remember if they said they didn't discover it till later, or I can't remember. It was like April or something. I may be wrong.
No, you're right. That's how the article wrote it. Yeah, they found it they experienced it in January. I think they did their investigations, and then they discovered it later, and then now they're disclosing it.
Yeah. So I mean, this is what we have to deal with. This is the world we live in today, right? Like when we have these conflicts. I mean, despite Russia trying to say they're doing this for different reasons, like you're trying to freeze out 100,000 people because of Nazis. I mean, that was your excuse, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? This doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? But
you guys are a corrupt country. Let's freeze out your children and kids. Like what's
make it make sense, Putin.
Yeah.
But but we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up, fellas. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Daniel. So to everybody out there, again, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. We out here doing good work. You know what I mean? Let them see how good of the work we're doing out here. You know what I mean? So like I said, like, share, subscribe. For the podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts, make sure you tune into this one. It's either the other side of the firewall or the other side of the FW. Check all the social medias as well, of which I have none. Chris, where can they find you at?
You can find me on LinkedIn under Chris Abacon, last name spelled A-Bacon.
And Daniel, what about you?
Same LinkedIn under my name, Daniel Acevedo.
All right, everybody, stay safe, stay secure.